Yo, what's good? Your boy V Moss here with the homie Vogue. Vogue, what's good?
What it do? Happy to be here.
Here for another episode of Neptune Sunday podcast.
Woo.
You knew this was coming, folks, for those of you who follow us. Kind of a big couple weeks in the Neptune Star Trek world over the
Yeah.
past couple weeks. So let's get into it. Let's just get right into it. The first thing that we got to talk about, a very important moment for us, for the podcast, me in particular, personally. Last Sunday, or I guess it might have been, I don't know. I don't know what the time difference is between America and the Maldives, but Sunday, Savannah James, wife of NBA megastar LeBron James, posted an Instagram story of my guy LeBron off that Lobos tequila on vacation, doing a little two-step to Pharrell's Gust of Wind. Like,
Mhm.
it's really dope to see LeBron like a fan. Like, that's not like a single, right? Like, that's an album cut, first of all. And the two-step was too good. Like, he knows that song, so he likes it. That's
Yeah.
another point that's dope. But the reason we're celebrating it is because I reposted the video on Twitter, tagged my boy P himself in it, and he liked the tweet. Oh my gosh, we've made it. Mama, I made it. Oh man.
I told him the next step is I was like, this is one step closer to meeting Pharrell. We're gonna be besties.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, like that whole moment is just like that. The video went viral, and it's like, obviously, there's basketball fans who are going to talk about it and say, well, LeBron's on vacation because they didn't play well this year. They didn't make the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, man, let that man live, man.
Yeah.
Life was made to be living. So to be able to capture that moment and to have the soundtrack of that moment be none other than our guy, the one and only Skateboard P, was pretty dope.
It was. It was. It really was.
You just said the next step is we're one step closer to meeting in person. It's a
Yeah.
perfect segue into another big moment from this past week, the announcement of the return of the Something in the Water Festival.
Something in the water. It's in DC this time.
So obviously the location change has been a big point of discussion. I think we mentioned this when we talked to Aisha,
Yeah.
just the matter of politics behind the scenes, the whole situation with Pharrell's cousin being murdered by police and him not being happy with the way that that situation was handled. Moving to DC, obviously for us, right, is cooler from the fact that we are sort of half natives of DC in a way, right? Like
Yeah.
we are local to DC. I mean, I live in Philly now, but I lived
Yeah.
in DC for a while and always visited because I lived in Virginia and my uncle lived in DC. But, I think from my perspective, being from Virginia and going to school at Hampton, living in 757 for 4 years, and just being aware of all the impact economically and, all the visibility that that festival brought to the 757 back in the first time, it's sad to see it leave there, first of
Yeah,
all.
I remember that being a big part of the pitch about it being something that drives businesses to be able to like serve that area. So while I mean, like I love having something at home and I love the idea that it's down the street from me, even not being from Virginia, I'm disappointed to see the location change. And also like it's not cheap to have an event in DC.
Absolutely not.
It's also I don't know how many of you listening have been to DC and have traveled in DC. It's not necessarily like the easiest thing to navigate when you have masses of people. To me, I'm like, I that could get a little overwhelming fast. I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, like when it first got rumored to be coming from DC, I think we heard the rumor, and then I think Pusha said it in an interview, and
Okay.
then this week it got announced. But like when it first got rumored, like I sent a tweet that was like, they got to have it at the mall. It's gonna look like Obama's inauguration out there, and that's really what it's set up to be, right? Like it's gonna be thousands and thousands of people out there. But we'll see. I mean, I think infrastructure wise, it is a little bit easier to really navigate there from a public transportation standpoint. Like, yeah, the metros are going to be packed, but like at least there are metros, right? Like in Virginia
Yeah.
Beach, like you have to either be staying right there on the water or, there's pros and cons to both. But obviously, like I said, we're sad that it's leaving the 757. Hopefully it will get back there at some point because that's a
Yeah.
big deal. And obviously the whole concept of something in the water, is there something in the water in Virginia, and why it's been able to produce all this talent in music and sports and all this other stuff. But at the same time, to have it be in DC for the weekend of Juneteenth is kind of a big deal too. I think they're doing some stuff around that as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think
Cool.
ultimately it's a celebration of the culture too, right? So I think it's important. I think it's really cool that now that they're in DC, that there's go-go on the lineup right now. Like Backyard is on there, Mariah Essence, I think. So that's cool. Like whatever I'm interested to see what else they do to make it almost a DC version of what it was in Virginia.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up the most important thing to me, which is that it is on Juneteenth weekend. And I was like, that's the perfect way to celebrate something that like a lot of us didn't celebrate as kids, or like we did like a little festival that they would have locally, but it wasn't something that was known as widespread as it is now. And to have a person of Pharrell's caliber, a Black person of Pharrell's caliber, be able to set something up on Juneteenth weekend and give Black people something to like come to and interact with, like, I think that that is dope.
So other than the go-go presence, who else are you excited that's on the lineup so far?
I was looking at the lineup again today before we met, and actually there's a lot of people on there that, like, are known, but I feel like I'll say this, they're known by me. I was like, I don't know a lot of people who know who. Let me think of who I was talking about. Not a lot of people know Slow Tie, for example. Like, I know there was a show that everybody was watching that there was like a Slow Tie. I think it was on Atlanta. Hope Tala is supposed to be there. I'm really excited to see like Lucky Day. Ravina is somebody I really like and like is rising up. Of course, I don't have to say this to you guys. I'm personally excited that Tyler's going to be there.
Of
And I
course.
know there's no situation where he wouldn't be. Tierra Whack. Some of the people who are like popular, but like definitely have smaller followings, it's exciting to see Pharrell curate this list of people who I believe are like up and comers in music and doing something different in music in the same way we talk about his music presence.
Yeah, I think it definitely is obviously the Pharrell and Friends part is gonna be the draw, but then it's also like kinda like Pharrell's kids. Like it's a lot of people who are inspired by the unique approach to music and the lane that Pharrell helped create for people who are doing things a little bit different. So it's cool. And like I think obviously your boy Tyler's a big like personification of that. So that's cool. I'm looking forward to obviously Pusha. I like a couple of Toby's songs, from my time, Toby in Wigway. Like
I'm
he's
shaking my
the
head and making a face. I have a thing with Toby and Igwe, but that's a different episode.
I think so. Here, let me also give you the context of Toby, right? Like I know, like one of my friends, Trina, that I spent a lot of time with when I was in Houston, like went to high school with him. So like I
Okay.
don't think I met him, but I was always she would always play his music or like remind, like say like, yo, we're going to do this thing with Toby, blah blah blah. So then when he blew up, I was like, oh wow, that's him. And like the song that I really love is I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's the energy of it that I'm excited about. So I guess we'll have a Toby conversation offline, but excited to see Snow. I mean, I was supposed to go to a Snow concert before the
Yes.
pandemic happened. That got canceled, and like it's interesting that Ti and Usher are, I think, other than Pusha, are two of the like frequent collaborators that you think would be in the Friends. So the fact that they like are getting their own acknowledgement outside is it's interesting. Like obviously they're gonna do their Neptune songs, right? But I do
Yeah.
think it's weird that they're getting their own set and not just coming out with Pharrell.
Yeah. Yeah. You make a good point. I mean, maybe T.I.'s doing a comedy set. We don't know.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Poor, yeah, poor guy.
I wish you guys could see Vaughn's face.
Or I just like I was a really big Ti and I like Ti's old music. He just has had such an interesting past like 4 or 5 years. Where it's just like, what is happening in your life, man? Like you just I always just generally just look at and think about things that happen publicly with celebrities and just like,
Yeah.
what's going on with you? Like you have a lot of like you're set. Just relax.
Yeah. Basically.
Like just chill. Like there's things that you don't need to like. Jay-Z and Beyonce are a perfect example of that. Like they really do stay out the way. Like
Yeah,
they do what they need to do and they come out and they make moves. But other than that, like
I
you don't
never.
hear from them.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna just compare it to Pharrell. Like, obviously, I don't think
Yeah.
that Pharrell are in the same place, but like Pharrell is like curating new stuff, and he has a podcast and like all that kind of stuff that is the stuff to me that like rich niggas do. Like, I'm
Right.
rich, I have access, and I'm gonna like
Right.
make this interesting thing. And Ti is having like sex parties or something. Like, I don't know what's
Right.
going on.
Right. And then talking about his daughter's
Oh no, I forgot about
yeah, that's too much, man. And it's
that.
like, and then what's so bad about it, and I want to get off this. I don't want to bash Ti. I'm just it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
but then you do all this stuff, and then you want to go do comedy. Like comedy is basically you are setting yourself up to be like
the butt of the
this
joke.
straight clown if
Yeah.
you like whether you're good at comedy or not. Like if especially if you're not good, that means that the jokes that are coming to come back on you are just going to be tenfold because people have all this ammunition. And like on top of that, you just try to be funny and you're not funny. Like
Clifford, we love you. We just want you to get some,
just get
take it,
back. Hey man, go back to the trap. Like that's
take a little seat. I am gonna point somebody else before we get off. A couple of people out before I get off this. Thundercat will be there.
mhm.
Thundercat is like your favorite artist. So I'm excited that he's on the bill. Also, Duckworth. There's a lot of cool people that like I've listened to or like become fans of that will be there.
Yeah, so just go into the speculation of who these secret friends are. I
Yeah, yeah,
think from a DC standpoint, I think Wale's got to be on that list of the
has to
secret
be.
friends.
Has
You
Wale
know,
comes with the Neptunes, right?
he's got yeah, he's got at least one from that first album, and then he's got that one that he's on the last Nerd album. But other than that, there's not that many, which is so maybe he's not there. I think from a simple fact of him being in DC, like that makes sense. But I don't know.
I wouldn't be like shocked if he wasn't there. I would be surprised if he doesn't like show up in some capacity. Cause like
Right.
Wale is our guy.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think he's got I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if, in what capacity he's involved. Like even if he's just there, like just around or like someone brings him up to do his own songs it'll be interesting. But I think obviously, I think we're going to get Malice.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
I think we're going to get Malice, which we can get into in a second.
Yeah.
And I just don't have a lot of confidence that we'll get Jay-Z again.
No, but I mean I'm saying something so obvious, but like that's the appeal of the and friends. You have the time to like negotiate or
Right.
like, hey, can you like make this last minute and
Right.
sneak some of those bigger people in, which obviously would be great.
Which is crazy because when the first one happened in 2019, I didn't expect him to be there because
Right.
he literally had his B-side show in New York on Friday night and then flew to PJ to Virginia Beach and then showed up at something in the water on Saturday, which was like wild. I mean, that just shows you how the relationship is. Like, and I'm sure there was a financial conversation of some
Absolutely.
sort as well. But
Still to like make that move. I mean, like how sick I was because I had tickets to that first one. I could
mm,
not get a place to stay, so I ended up selling them, and then to find out, oh, woo, it's turning my stomach right now, years later.
yeah. I mean, I think the other secret friends, like I think Snoop was there before, right? The first time. I think he'll be there again.
You
Like
think so?
what
Yeah.
else is he doing? I mean, like he's just
Everything.
right, that's what I'm saying. He's just in the mix like that where he's got time. I don't know. I feel like he'll be there, but I think it's here's where we're gonna get interesting. My surprise blow it all up guess is gonna be Justin Timberlake.
I would actually love to see that.
That's my vote.
Okay, okay. I'm like running through my list of frequent collaborators. That's a far reach. You don't get a Busta.
Yeah, I mean, maybe,
But I
maybe.
don't. My thing about Busta is I would love to see Busta there. I know that Busta is revered. I want him to get the proper respect if he were to show up. And to me, Busta in a festival type of situation, I don't know if he gets like the hype that Busta deserves.
I mean, Busted. I just saw something on the internet, on Instagram yesterday. Like, apparently, Busted and Dave Chappelle did a show or something.
Okay, I mean they.
I mean, that's the thing that's tough about this is a Dave Chappelle and Busta Rhymes show in a theater somewhere is going to have a crowd that's aged at the youngest 25, 26, 27.
At the youngest.
But this something noir is going to have teenagers out there
Yeah.
who are going to be like, what? But at the same time, maybe at that point the kids are gone. I don't know, because the kids are going to be like, oh, we sound so old right now.
We do.
The kids are gonna come see Tyler and Uzi, but then Pharrell and Friends I'm assuming it's gonna be a Saturday night like it was last time. Like that's gonna be
Yeah. That's interesting. It's interesting. It's always interesting to kind of understand like the Uzis and the Tylers, their fan base is younger because I mean Tyler's 30 something. I will be interested to see the like final crowd. I'll say that a lot of my friends have hit me up and they're like, "Oh, I know you want to go. I know. Are you going?" Because like they know who I am, but like obviously I'm not hanging out with 21-year-olds. So it's older people
right.
or we got to come up with another name for ourselves besides older people because it's sounding geriatric.
Yeah, man. I think it's gonna be interesting. And I mean, looking at the list again, Ashanti and Ja Rule is gonna be unique, and also Dave Matthews Band.
Love Dave Matthews. So hyped up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's crazy. Like there's a lot of people on this list. There's a lot of people on this list. And it's crazy to think about 3 days is a long time. So
And at first I was like, this is a lot of people for a festival, but over 3 days, that makes sense. I mean, really
yeah,
just cut it into thirds.
right.
And that's reasonable. Dominic Fike is the dude from what's that show? With the kids and the drugs.
From Euphoria?
Yeah, I think he's the dude from Euphoria.
Really?
Like people like he's not gonna have like I say that to say people are gonna know who he is, but he's not gonna have like this huge setup where he's doing songs for hours and hours. I think like the levels of people that are there gives it a space to have like these smaller shows and stages and
Yeah.
have the big stages where you have the draw.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I did not realize that. That's dope.
I just spotted it.
So we will put together a playlist of all the Pharrell produced songs from these artists that are performing. Have that available for you guys after this episode is done. But then let's get into another important topic in the Neptunes Pharrell world. It's almost dry. Cocaine raps. Oh my gosh. Luxury drug dealer raps are just, man, they're just amazing.
I love living my drug dealer fantasy because I'm the least likely person to ever sell crack or coke, whatever. But I definitely was like in the house grooving to this album, which is like not an album. It's not like a dance album. You don't expect that, but
Right.
the beats were just so crazy.
Yeah, the album is it's amazing. I mean, it's gonna end up being Push's first #1 album, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I love about it is just him embracing this villainous, like I'm the bad guy and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you these dark luxury drug dealer raps and he's got all these Joker references. Like I saw this thing on Complex where like they quoted Pharrell saying that they watched the Joker movie while they made some of the music, and like if the music didn't fit the movie, they didn't use it. So like it's crazy, and just like the two Joker references on Rock and Roll, he's like, I'm the trap, I'm the fix, I'm the broker, I'm the Joker in the deck. Arthur Fleck when he's pissed, 666, like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what?
Yeah,
Like,
I loved learning that fact about the Joker on mute. There's a song, just so you remember it. Instantly
yeah.
when I first heard that, it took me like American Gangster. So like say hello to the bad guy. It does definitely have that feel embedded in the album.
Yeah. So you remember he says something about Joker too. The Joker smile, so you know who the villain is, I think.
Yep.
So obviously the major theme for this album is Pharrell versus Ye.
Yes.
So I thought it was an interesting tactic from a marketing standpoint. That after I think a week after the initial release, they released different versions that had the songs reordered. So it was a Pharrell versus Ye version and a Ye versus Pharrell version. Probably helped get the numbers up on the streams. But I'm gonna let you go first. This was Pusha said this on Breakfast Club. This was his personal Ye versus Pharrell versus that he made into an album. So who's your vote? Who's the winner?
this is gonna sound. I'm gonna give you an answer, and I'm gonna get my cop out answer first because I sat down to listen to everything again, and I went through like who produced what, and I literally my three favorite songs is a even split: "Dreaming of the Past," Kanye, "Scrape It Off," P. But "Rock and Roll" is what I will say is "Rock and Roll" is about to go into my like top 5 Hall of Fame songs all time. I'm a crazy Cudi fan, and they co-produced that song. So I was like, it's literally an even split of my favorites on this album. I am gonna lean in another world and another part of the multiverse. This is a Kanye podcast because I'm a huge Kanye fan. I'm gonna lean because I feel like he's like back. I'm tired of hearing Kim bars. I don't want to hear no more about like Daddy not being home, but I feel like he's back at like his peak in like production on this album.
I'm gonna disagree.
Okay.
I just and we've talked about this before. Is like my affinity, my support, and just I don't know for Kanye West is just it's struggling right now. It's struggling, and perfect example is I had a conversation with one of my friends, and I had a conversation with Kia first, but this video came out this past week showing like Kanye a clip from the new Kardashian show. Like they made this big deal about how they canceled their old show and now they have a new
Yeah.
show on Hulu. And this
Yeah.
video clip comes out about how Ye was in New York and flew to California and then flew back in the same day because he went to go negotiate a deal with Ray J to get the computer that has the sex tape on it.
Oh my God, I saw that.
And I'm just like, what are we watching? Like, what is happening? I do not understand that. You acting like this man just negotiated to free some hostages were like being held in some terrorist camp or something, like to get a old iMac. Like, what are we?
That's a prime example of rich people who like, don't you have something better to do than this?
Right.
Like, why is this the use of your time? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm in a very, very dark place with Kanye that like I almost don't talk about it too often anymore. Cause like if I think at first when, and I won't stay on this too long, I think at first when he like started to take the nosedive, I was like, I had a lot of excuses. Now I'm kind of like, you're making me hate you. I can't stand behind you. I will say, even feeling the way I do about him right now, I think that's what made me veer that way. The fact that I felt so good about what I did hear from him here.
Yeah, 100%. I loved what I heard from him.
Yeah.
Loved it. Like Dreaming of the Past. What was the other one from him that I really like? Like Rock and Roll is my least favorite song, but I don't hate it. Like I don't love it like I love the other songs, but it's just like not my favorite. But that's part of the reason why I'm like leaning towards P. But also like the other thing that's important to note is that Ye's beats are all co-produced. Like there's all of them have another person that's listed, and that's why they all sound very different. They all have that. Most of them have that Kanye chopped up sample, like, and he deserves all the credit. Like for those, I love that those tracks, a lot of them, not a lot of them, but the ones that they're like Dreaming made me think about old Kanye, and I was like, yes, this is what I need. But then at the same time, when you listen to I Pray For You, like that's basically a Labyrinth song. Like that you could have pulled that straight from the end credits of Euphoria, and it would have been like a fit. So, but like P did what P did. I mean, and I think one thing that I love about the most recent P stuff is like he is embracing the 4 count as a tag more than I think he ever has. And he's like,
agreed.
Now that he's realizing that people are paying attention to that, I think that's dope. But then just to hear interviews where Pusha just talks about how hard P is on him and how they argue through that process. There's that whole quote about he said P told Pusha he doesn't want him to keep being a mixtape rapper, and that hurt his feelings, and he went and he did other, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that whole thing, that whole conversation and that relationship and how this is kind of personified in that is definitely why I lean towards P. And like I said, like, when we talked about what's next, we saw this album basically being made in those Instagram photos of P and Pusha in the studio. I mean, obviously, like, I think that means that, Uzi being on there, maybe he was recording his guest verse for Scrape It Off. But all that being said, the whole thing is amazing.
Yeah. And
production wise. Yeah.
Yes. I think that you make a really good point in terms of production, how it feels like P pushed it to be, it feels more cinematic, it feels more well-rounded. When you think about early Clips records, it's a little bit more bare bones and kind of aligned to what you think about when you think about like coke rap. Like I'm really thinking about grinding, like just you got the hits and that's it. And I think a lot of the music could veer in that direction, but I feel like there was a Pharrell did a really good job of motivating him to like have a more well-rounded sound. I think the songs like felt more thought out, felt more like they had more oomph to them on this album.
And he talked about that in interviews too. Is like Pharrell wants to sit and craft it and break it down and say, "Hey, we want to take this," and you get mad at me and I don't like this, but then you bring it back like, "Oh, you like that? So let's add more of this and then start all over again." Where he says that Ye just wants the raps, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like it seems, and you can tell that, and I think that that's what you get in the album is some really great production by Ye, where he's like, "Okay, cool," and then Pusha just do your thing. Whereas it's what Pharrell is like, okay, we're sitting here, we're playing with these sounds, we're watching the Joker, okay, and
Yeah.
now we are actually like making something that is for this. So again, overall, it's amazing.
What were your favorite tracks?
I mean, like I said, I don't, I don't dislike rock and roll. It's just like not
God,
my favorite.
it made my chest hurt. Yes, I'm saying.
We've had conversations about, I mean, Cuddy just doesn't, and that's part of the thing that like to that conversation about whose beats do you prefer or who you think had the better production is like Kanye just basically said, I can't finish this. Let Pharrell put the drums on it. So it's just like, oh, okay, well, yeah. Okay. But yeah, my favorite songs are I really, really like Let the Smoker Shine the Coops. I think
Okay.
that's a very strong, like let Brambleton come in as the intro to set the tone, give you the scene. I think Brambleton, which is not one of my favorite songs, but I think I really love Brambleton because it's very 757 painting that picture for you of like what was happening, what Pusha was doing, Club Entourage, and all that kind of stuff. But then to come in the Smokers, Sign the Coops with the energy of that 4 Count P right after that, I thought was a strong start to the album.
Mhm.
I really love Call My Bluff. I
Okay. Yeah.
think I think just the energy of that is very like again, it's very villainous. Like I can send some people right here, I can send some people to come see you right now. Like, and then I pray for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
I gave my top three: Dreaming of the Past, Rock and Roll, Scrape It Off. I really like Scrape It Off. I felt like Uzi does a really good job on features, and he did it here. I will say that what I like about the shorter album format that has arisen, where you have like a 35, 40-minute album max, it feels like a complete work as opposed to everyone's gonna always pick out the track or like the features that they enjoy, but it felt like a complete body where I like almost my brain didn't separate anything out except for rock and roll at first. And that's not because I didn't enjoy the rest of the album as much. It's just that it was that tightly woven together for me.
For
So
sure.
like, I like it as a whole body of work, honestly.
I think Scrape It Off has got like very like subtle. You could hear that out, and it'd be like a little bit of a bop. Just
Yeah.
because Don Toliver is kind of hot right now with the hooks, and so I think he brings a little bit of energy to it that makes it liven up the vibes a little bit, which I think was a good change of pace. I think there's another thing that's really important to talk about how good the album is just from the simple fact that, especially like you said, with shorter albums, when you're getting 1, 2, 3 Lucy's before the album comes out, usually that kind of underwhelms you. Like it's like, well, I've heard all the good songs already. The rest of it is just okay. But the fact that we heard Diet Coke, we heard Hear Me Clearly on the Nego project, and then we got Neck and Wrist is kind of like the promo hype up the album drop. Like all three of those songs are amazing. And then the rest of the songs they add on top of that were amazing. So I think that's cool. And it's also like, he talked about this on Breakfast Club too, which I think would have like helped in that situation is Nas was supposed to be on the Hear Me Clearly version on the album. So you would have got Hear Me Clearly on the Nego project as like a teaser, but then you get the album version, which has Nas on it. He said Nas just never got to it. But that would have been amazing. And would have added even more of what's the word I'm looking for? Anything is a word. But it would have been like so much of a bigger deal, like for this album to be just kind of put on a pedestal as being one of the best projects of all time because of think about it, half Ye, half Pharrell, Jay-Z feature, Nas feature, Bring Your Brother Back for the Clips reunion.
Ugh.
Like all of that is just crazy. Just it's crazy.
And I want to say one more time for the one time, I love hearing Malice be evil. So I felt like it was a return to form. I was just like, yes.
I mean, we have to get we have to get an album. We have to. Like, I don't just give it to us, bro. Just whatever the timeline. And he's talked about how I think, right, like we talked about T.I. earlier, like Malice is doing the opposite of T.I.
Absolutely.
He is just like, I'll rap when I wanna, I'll come out when I wanna.
Yep.
Pusha convinced me, oh, that's my little brother. Okay, little brother, you keep begging me to do this. Okay, I'll knock this out for you. But man, when he came on, I pray for you. Like, what did I miss? New designer drugs and emotions I don't get. What? Like, oh my goodness, man. Like, and then Pusha basically is saying he hasn't said that the album is coming, but like, to get him on those couple songs, and then because he was on the Nego joint, Touchable,
Yep.
and then in I Pray For You, Pusha says the past 10 years, I'm screaming Uno, then sidestep back into the duo. Like, just don't play with our emotions, guys. Like,
we're waiting.
With our emotions, man. Like, don't play with our emotions. It's not fair. Like,
I'm ready.
well, another episode in the books. This is like, bro, this is 14. Like, this is absolutely crazy.
We're really doing it.
I mean, we're coming up on a year in the summertime, which is kind of a big deal. We'll see.
Oh, wow.
We got some stuff in the works in the summer, guys. For all the diehard listeners out there, just be ready. The summer is about to be really, really dope. Some great conversations, some great guests. So just be ready.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Appreciate y'all listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to like and subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and SoundCloud. And we will catch you next Neptune Sunday.
Hello.
Peace and love.